Another problem I ran into is finding top dead center for sure. You can check the flat areas on the cams, or another way to do it is to look in here in this hole. This is the screw that came out. There was a little, basically a little crush washer. You take the crush washer off, put this in. This is going to go in the whole way to lock in the cam, or the crankshaft. But where is the crankshaft top dead center? One person described it as a flat spot in the crankshaft. That's not it. There is a flat spot in the crankshaft, a partial flat spot that looks like top dead center, but it's not. The dead center thing on the crankshaft is actually a slot. It's a vertical slot. It's almost about the size of that hole. And when you see it, you'll know it's a vertical slot. You look into it, it'll be a slot just as big as that hole. Oh, there, it's recording with the light. Okay, so now you can see it is a slot. You can see then there's a slot. If you move the cam, if you move it a little bit, I'm going to just use the Kickstarter to move there. See the way that closed? Here are some of the other positions that are wrong. Here is another position. You can see it coming around. That right there is wrong. It looks like a slot. It looks like a slice in it. It looks like a hole. Your screw will fit in there, and it will retain the crankshaft, but that is wrong. There it goes. That slot went away. Coming around the top, that slender shot. There's another one that's wrong. It looks like your screw would probably definitely hold that in place too, but that's not it. So keep going. I'm turning the crankshaft counterclockwise. And, oh, there's the slot right there. So now I'm going to back it up a little bit. And bam, now you can see it's definitely a slot. And now I got it set. Put my screw in there. And we're good. Alright, now I'm going to expose it. I'm going to expose the slot here in a second. Here it comes around. I'm turning the crankshaft. There's a slot. See it coming? And it looks, there it is. And it looks, there's the other side starting to appear now. That's it. It's a slot. That's the tiny little slot that marks top dead center. That is it top dead center? Look at the cams. Nope, it's not top dead center. Let's go around to that slot appears again. I'm going counterclockwise with this thing. Go around till the slot appears again. Looking for the slot to appear again. That's not it. That's the wrong sliver or hole in the crankshaft. Whatever it is not right. I don't know what you want to call it. That's not it either. See, look at that. That's, you can really hook in the wrong one right there. Coming around. Slot should be coming up soon. Going, and I think it's coming up. There we go. That's the slot. The slot's there. Is it top dead center? Cams are where they should be. We're good to go. And you put this in. That's how you set top dead center. Alright, now here is something else that I was having trouble with. It took me a while to figure this out. If you look at this, is right off the manual. It says to have the cam lined up with these 2 points here, the flat areas of the cam. What they're talking about, they're not talking about this flat area. They're not talking about the cam itself. I had the whole thing together, and it wouldn't start because the timing was off, although it looked like it was on. If you notice in the picture, this thing is slightly canted, and that one's flat. Your objective is not to make that slightly canted or to make that flat. The objective is this little part back here that you can barely even see in this picture. It's really a poor example of how to set the timing. But there is, behind these cam lobes, there is a flat piece. And that flat piece has to line up with 2 tiny little dots. This picture does a poor example of showing it. I could not find anything on the internet to help me with this, to explain it precisely the way it needs to be done. So I'm going to go over to the engine and show you on the engine. Now, on the engine, it's very easy to see on the engine. This is what you're lining up. This flat spot right here lines up with tiny little dots. There we go. Now you can see it. See that dot right there? There's another one over here that this level spot is, well, you can see it's right there. It's almost covering up. this timing is off. In the picture, it looks right. It looks just like the picture. This one's canted. That one's pretty close. It could be a little level, but you're looking at the wrong spot. You got to look at this flat spot back here. This one's a little harder to see, but it's back there. If you look back in there, you'll see the lighting's not good in this shot, but you get the idea. There's one of these things. There's one of these things right behind each lobe, and that's the part that has to be level with the 2 dots. Is not this thing, not this thing. I even saw one posting that said make sure this circle is lined up with a dot behind it, and that's not correct either. Although it does happen to line up with that circle a little bit, it's not precise. The precise way to do it is to use that flat spot back there.